Oh, there it is.
He breaks down plays better than anyone.
I mean, this is like Shark Week now. And you know what Baker Mayfield is? He's chum. Look at these sharks. You think you're getting away from those 4 angry sharks? It's Shark Week. It's time to eat. Make the read urgency. That's the name of the game right here. Urgency. Now, on it. He's on it. Touchdown. Beautiful throw.
He's our 95.7 The Game NFL insider, Brian Baldinger.
We love Baldy. He joins us every single Tuesday at 7:30 in the morning, and he breaks it down better than anybody at Baldy NFL on Twitter. Check out his page. You become smarter by the clip, and Baldy's getting ready for Thanksgiving. I already know the spread is going to get KO'd by Brian Baldinger tomorrow. We'll get to that in a second. But Baldy, good morning to you. Glad to have you back on. Niners are rolling. We're feeling good about the quarterback. We're feeling good about the defense, and we're also giving out some turkeys here for the year. And as much as we praise Jimmy Garoppolo, we want to sign an apology form about Jimmy Garoppolo. We had to give him a turkey moment because of the pick 8 heard around the world against the Denver Broncos when he stepped out the back of the end zone in week 3. So I ask you right off the rip, Baldy, who would be your turkey of the year?
Oh, gosh. In this world that's so chaotic, there's a lot of choices, you know. Let me think. I don't know. I'll just go to last week's game. Last week's games, like how the Jets punted to anybody.
Oh my God.
26 seconds to go in a 3-3 game. Like how in the world that game didn't end up in overtime. I mean, you just give the whole Jets franchise the turkey, the quarterback, the coach. I mean, that was almost unforgivable to punt that ball away and just allow anything to happen, you know, outside of just punting the ball into, you know, give a fan, you know, a nice souvenir. With that punt. That's what they should have done.
Unbelievable.
I love that.
Let's get into the Niners in here because
it's a good turkey, though.
It is a good turkey. And I won't believe me, I want to get into the whole Belichick special teams thing, but neither here nor there. Christian McCaffrey, what has he done for Jimmy Garoppolo? Because it feels like to me, not only has he opened up the middle of the field for all the playmakers, the comfort level for Jimmy Garoppolo feels like it's at an all-time high. What's the film telling you about adding Christian McCaffrey to Jimmy Garoppolo's arsenal?
Well, I think spacing is a big part of any offense, and I think he just creates more space. You know, even like on the first touchdown to Ayuk, you know, the first read was to McCaffrey on just basically what we call Texas route, just an angle route out of the backfield. Everybody runs it. McCaffrey's excellent at it. And, you know, when Jimmy looked at it, he saw Zaven Collins, the middle linebacker, just sitting right there waiting on it. And so what it does is, You got to have two sets of eyeballs on McCaffrey. So you got like the flat defender. He's behind McCaffrey. So Jimmy, you know, in his progression goes, okay, McCaffrey, they've taken the middle linebacker and they've put him over there. I'm just coming straight back to Ayuk, who's running a little whip route on the backside. It's an example of spacing. Like it's like, okay, if A isn't open, we're going to B. Like the answer to the test. But A, because it's McCaffrey, you just give him this attention. And it just opens things up for Ayuk. And so that's what I see. I saw the same thing against the Chargers. Like, it just creates more space. And that's what, like, the Cardinals sin for any route runner or offense is to have two receivers in the same place where, you know, two guys or one guy can cover two. But spacing is so important to any offense, whatever you want to call it. And I just feel like he's created more space for Jimmy to go from A to B and sometimes to C if you have the time to do it.
No, that's a great point, Baldy. Brian Baldinger here on the Morning Roast on 95.7 The Game. Look, I made a comment about 15 minutes ago, and it's about the quarterback, Jimmy Garoppolo. And you think about where he's been, and you were down at SoFi Stadium when they put away the L.A. Rams. It may have ended their season that day at SoFi Stadium, where he throws a nice pass to Ross Dwelly, the nice pass to George Kittle, the pass to Christian McCaffrey. Over the last 3 weeks, or heck, over the last 4 weeks, Baldy, Jimmy's thrown for over 1,000 yards, 8 touchdown passes, 1 interception. I'm not saying he's one of the top 5 quarterbacks in the league, but over the last 3 to 4 weeks, Patrick Mahomes has been playing some good football. You know, Aaron Rodgers, he's been up and down. Brady's starting to find his mojo. Geno Smith has been solid. Jimmy Garoppolo's playing as well, I think, over the last 4 weeks outside of Patrick Mahomes as anybody in this football league, including Josh Allen. And I love Josh Allen. Josh Allen has all the talent in the world, but I can't unsee the 2 picks he threw against Minnesota. I can't unsee the picks he threw against Green Bay on Sunday Night Football. And I get Josh Allen is one of the best quarterbacks in the league. Baldy, right now, I think Jimmy's playing better over the last 3-4 weeks than Josh Allen. And that sounds absurd.
But here's the Jimmy conundrum, though. he's only going to get measured by how he plays in the postseason. Maybe against Miami in 2 weeks. Certainly not against Arizona. Like against Chargers defense is pretty incomplete against a Rams team that's kind of falling apart.
Right.
That's all. It's great. The numbers are good. The numbers are great, but he's only going to get measured how he plays in the big games and in the postseason, and that's just a reality. He knows it too. Like, you can sweet talk him right now and put all these great numbers up, and it's great. He knows that everybody, it's like watching Kirk Cousins the other night. Like, everybody wants to say Kirk has found his way,
right,
until he gets lost again, and he has that type of game against Dallas, and you're like, oh, it's just Kirk Cousins. He's a 500 quarterback. And if Jimmy trips up against Miami in a shootout type of game with teams going up and down the field, and he comes up short, or you gets bounced in the first round of the playoffs, people just go, that's just Jimmy.
Right.
That's just the reality. So, he's got a great quarterback rating. The numbers are really good. It says he's playing great. But we're all kind of just waiting and saying, okay, but can he do it? At that level of competition when you get to that NFC Championship game, to that Super Bowl game, that's just the reality of quarterbacks.
There's no doubt about that. Let me ask you this then, Baldy. Take away Tom Brady, because I think we'll all take Tom Brady in a playoff setting. In the NFC, you brought up Kirk Cousins. There's an unknown with Jalen Hurts. There's an unknown with Dak Prescott. There's an unknown with Geno Smith. There's all these unknowns in the NFC. Am I crazy to say that maybe outside of Tom Brady, that I'd rather have Jimmy Garoppolo lead my team in the playoffs with all those things you said, because he will be measured in the playoffs. But that experience that he has in the Niners winning big games, and it wasn't all because of him, the defense, the running game. We know that. But there's a lot of unknowns at quarterback, and I feel safer with Jimmy Garoppolo at quarterback outside of Tom Brady in NFC than all those other guys, Baldy.
Well, just think about this, Bonte, to your point. Like, if you said, okay, Geno, Dak, Kirk, like Jalen Hurts,
right,
if you add them all up, right, together, right, Jimmy's got more playoff games than all those guys combined. So, experience should matter. You should learn, because there is it. Like, I was just on a call with the Jets, right, and the first half of the season, let's just say up until Thanksgiving, it's the first half. Then you get the stretch run. The second half of the season is different than the first half of the season, because now you're jockeying for position. You're jockeying for playoffs, for playoff positioning, for home field, for division championships. And that's the next phase. And then January football is completely different than all of that, because there's something different when it's just sudden death, and there is no tomorrow. And you've got to make that play. Like what we saw Mahomes do again to the Chargers, we expect that he'll do that in the postseason. We just expect it. Like, nobody was surprised that he took the team down the field 75 yards, threw the ball to Kelsey for the winner. But that's the feeling of confidence you want to get from your quarterback. Because you just started this conversation, Bonte was saying, take Brady out of it. Okay, because that's what we expect.
Right.
It's just like, take Brady and Mahomes out.
Right. We know.
Now, who can do that? Who could do that in sudden death football? And it could be in bad weather. It could be, who knows? But that's kind of where quarterbacks truly get measured. Yeah. And that's why they get paid. And that's why they're the leader and why they're the face. Because when you get to Mahomes and Brady's level, and, we'll see what happens to Rodgers this year, but when you get to that level, that's what you're getting paid to do. You're expected to go win that game. Yeah. No matter what the circumstances are.
Baldy, this is a week where every playmaker got great looks, it felt like, down the field as well. Ayuk, Kittle, Debo, McCaffrey, Elijah stepping up. The silent part of this team right now feels like the offensive line. How good is this offensive line playing, or is it a byproduct of bad teams that they're going up against?
I think it's a little bit of both.
Okay.
I think the line's playing well as a group.
Okay.
I think Aaron Banks and Trent Trent's just on top of his game, period. I was watching J.J. Watt, put J.J. Watt right into the logo. Yeah. In the middle of the turf in Mexico City.
Wow.
There.
Wow.
He's just doing things that other guys don't know how to do.
Wall tipping plays.
Think of doing. So, and then Banks playing next one. That's a really good group. You see Burford down the field. I just feel like
Brindle down the field.
They're playing a lot together right now. Yeah. And it looks like a good group right now.
Really?
It just really does. Now, they'll get tested. They're going to get tested. There's some games coming up here that Washington's playing great up front. Like, their defense line is probably as good as anybody's in football right now. You're going to see Max Crosby. That's a challenge for anybody. Like, you're going to see some games. And you'll see Vita Vea, from Tampa. Like, you're going to see players. And really, it's never, Aaron Donald against, Aaron Banks. It's you play these great players as a group. And so I feel like when you get Juice and you get Kittle on their game, like, it makes their offensive line better, the way that they handle certain runs and certain protections.
I flip it to the other side of the ball, and there's so many great players playing defense right now. If you were to make the case for Nick Bosa to be Defensive Player of the Year, how would you make it? Because it feels like every week he comes up with huge situational plays.
Well, look, you can't have the conversation without talking about Nick. I mean, the first thing people point to are sacks and interceptions.
Yeah.
Those are numbers.
Yeah.
And they don't give them to you can't buy those numbers on eBay. You have to earn them, okay? So, there's Matt Judon up there right now.
He's a beast.
So Matt, he's playing really well. And so, you'll see him tomorrow on Thanksgiving. He's really, really good. And he does a lot. He does. The way that they play him different than Nick. Nick rushes the quarterback every play. Judon plays linebacker. He's knocking backs on their backsides, coming out of the backfield. And he just plays a different style. So it's not just about numbers. But, if you said, okay, there's Nick and everybody else. There's Amenahu, there's Givens, there's all the other guys. He makes Drake, he makes all those guys better. There is no Eric Armstead right now. Ekuban has been out. So, he's making everybody better. So you have to look at it in the context of it's Nick and all the other, junior sharks. And you can make that case that their defense is playing as well as anybody's. I don't think anybody wants to see the 49ers defense right now, the way they're playing. And it starts with their front four.
You've been doing this a long time. You've been watching a lot of different players. You referenced J.J. Watt. I have reverence for how much he's accomplished in the league. If his career plays out the way you think it will, he's got as much God-given talent as anyone, right? In terms of being a special, dominant, Hall of Fame level player.
You're talking about Nick now.
Nick Bosa.
Yeah. He's on a path. But it's just the way. It's just Nick's mentality. He gets in front of a microphone. Last thing he wants to do is talk to anybody.
Right.
He honestly wants to play video games and sack quarterbacks. And maybe daydream on his house in Fort Lauderdale. But other than that, nothing's more important to him than sacking a quarterback. I said it the other night, he got one there, I don't know, before the halftime, whatever.
That was a big one.
He goes, Nick's happy right now. He's enjoying eating his orange slice. He got a sack. But he enjoys watching everybody else sack the quarterback too, and just making that case. Yes, he's the numbers he's consistently putting up. The health is the only question for any of these guys, because to get Hall of Fame numbers, you need good health.
Yes,
you can't be in the lineup out injuries. You gotta have an 8-10 year run where you're pretty healthy and you're getting double digits every year. You go through that stretch and you get, it starts at 100, and then where are you at health wise with 100 sacks, to get to 140, to get to 150, because you get to those numbers, Kevin Green, these guys, you get to the Hall.
Brian Baldinger here on the Morning Rush on 95.7 The Game, breaking down the Niners-Cardinals game where the Niners won 38-10. Nick Bosa, defensive line, played great. But those linebackers were flying around just hitting people, Baldy. And when we think about linebackers in football, I want a linebacker who's fast, who plays physical, and knocks heads off. And Fred Warner Jr. and Drake Greenlaw are just flying around, and sometimes it's a little reckless, but for the most part, they are cleaning dudes up. What are you seeing from these two linebackers?
I see the same thing. It's just a joy to watch them play. There's just so much fun because, honestly, there's a lot of friendly fire now. These guys, when they hit, ball carrier, anybody's around the pile, they're getting hit too. They're just missiles. They're just missiles that are just being launched. And, sometimes you're just running into, if you're Jimmy Ward and you're around the pile and here comes Freddie, you might get it blasted too, because there's no middle ground. Yep. It's just all or nothing. And so it starts with recognition. and play recognition. Like Freddie recognizes as well as anybody. I was talking about, like, there's C.J. Mosley. There's certain guys in this league that can diagnose a play within one step, whether it's play action, all this the silly motion you see before he snaps. There's just some guys, because there's an old saying, really, from the linebacker position: know the play, know the formation, know the play, know the formation, know the play. So you could be in a 3-by-1 to 2-by-2. You got motion, but it's the formation. The formation's going to tell you what the play is going to be. And once you get that, once you click, like, and really, Fred's had that since day one.
Yep, you called it.
I forget that linebacker that they drafted, out of Alabama.
Ruben Foster.
Like, who's gonna be the Mike?
You're talking
John
about
Lynch
the green
knew
dot
that.
helmet, the Minnesota game, Baldy, but you were talking about 48.
Well, exactly. Like, Fred was the Mike from day one against Minnesota.
Wow.
Like, he was the Mike. Like, he just, because of his ability to diagnose a play, get everybody lined up, just know what the answers to the test are before you get the test.
Baldy, people love you, and you're a man of mystery and international travel and so many things. So let's do a couple rapid fires with you as we celebrate Thanksgiving. Number one, you get giddy like I do. Who's your favorite player of all time in football? Who's the guy that you, like there's a guy like mine, Jerry Rice, right? You know what I mean? Like, I love Jerry Rice. I just loved watching him. Who's your guy?
Well, I played with Reggie White,
and
there's never, ever been a player like Reggie White. I played against him, and I played with him. It's a lot easier to play with him. I remember when I came to the Eagles, like, I came out of Dallas and this mentality that it was full speed practice every day, and that's how I practiced. Well, Reggie played games on Sunday. He didn't, the stuff you did during the week. So, like, the third practice, I'm going at Reggie full speed, and Reggie just stopped me, and he's like, he had his deep bass voice. He was the Reverend, right? Sounded like he was always in a preaching mode. He goes, Baldy, here's the rules. I'm just going to lay down the rules for you, all right? See this chin strap? If this chin strap is buckled, you play your style of football. If this chin strap is unbuckled, we're going to have a problem if you hit me like that. So that's it. Like, he just laid the rules down. No, but, I remember, like, late in the year, one year, like, we had this digital scale in our locker room in Philly. And I remember I was behind Reggie, and he stepped on the scale, and it was like 330 and climbing. Like, it hadn't hit the peak of whatever it was. 338, 342, whatever it was. I'm like, the dude's over 330, and he runs like a freaking undersized linebacker.
Oh, my God.
And when he was at Tennessee, he was dunking basketballs with Bernard King.
What?
So.
That's
like,
insane.
He was just, and then, but the key, though, to Reggie, and not everybody has this. I want to see more from Nick like this. Like, he just knew when to take a game over. Like, Nick has that switch. Like, no matter what you've done, means nothing when the game's in the balance.
Yeah.
And Reggie could just take a game over.
We saw it a lot when he became a Green Bay Packer. He
Sean
cashed the bank and he said,
Gilbert
God told
Brown.
me to go to Green Bay. And he goes to Green Bay and flips the culture. And he just took over
that
the game.
Monte and $17 million.
$17 million, yeah. God, like being rich too, right? I mean, the club move. I think about the Patriots game in the Super Bowl where he's just clubbing that poor right tackle over and over.
Just a hump. He just humped people right off the screen. We would just watch it over and over and over again. Like, in the film room, like, as a group, we would watch it.
It felt like that was John Madden's
Tootie
favorite
Robbins. Tootie Robbins was 350. Here goes the hump. Like, Tootie goes flying.
All right, Baldy. So the holidays coming up. Everyone's going to ask you about your favorite dishes, all that. Forget that. Bonte said the movies that he will stop on, that he watches over the next 3 or 4 days, no matter what channel, no matter where it's at. What'd you say?
Godfather.
Goodfellas.
Friday After Next. Back to the Future. I'm a big Back to the Future guy,
all right.
Baldy.
What's the movie for you that you'll see over the holidays and you go, I got to stop right here?
Well, there's two. There's two.
Give it to
me.
me.
If Jaws is coming on, I'm watching Jaws. Like, I'm just watching it, and that's like the perfect movie, like the perfect movie. And then probably Shawshank. I don't think I've ever gotten tired of watching Shawshank.
That's a good one.
So, yeah, that's just classic.
That is classic.
I love that.
That is classic. Where are you at this weekend, Baldy?
Yeah.
I'm in New York. I'm doing the Bears and Jets. It's a home game for me. I'll be, at New York, and so I'm excited. Like, they're going to make a quarterback switch in New York. They should, because scared quarterbacks shouldn't be on the field, and that quarterback in New York last week was scared.
Wow,
scared to make not scared of getting hit or anything, just scared to make a mistake. You just can't play that way.
What about Zach Wilson's comments? I mean, because there's just I can't believe what he was saying after that game.
Joe, there's only one thing to say after a performance like that. There's only one thing.
What's that?
And one thing only. You stand up in front of the room, you just go, I have to play better. We're not going anywhere if I don't play better. That's it. That's the only comment that is valid. That's it. It's not even a maturity thing. It's just like, I stunk today. We didn't score a touchdown. It's all on me, period. And that's how you basically absolve yourself from your team. Like, your team is down on you.
Right.
Like, they're frustrated. You know, receivers will always give you their body language. When they're
Garrett
frustrated.
Wilson.
Always. You know, you watch Garrett Wilson, and he's a great
stud.
kid, and he's a stud. And you watch Garrett Wilson just walk off the field after another incompletion on third down or whatever it was, and you just like, that's all you need to see.
Yeah.
Like, that's the movie.
Man, that defense is playing so well, too. Quinnen Williams playing at a very high level. Sauce Gardner, that defense is flying around, hitting people. They hold the Patriots basically 3 points until the punch you mentioned, Baldy. So a lot of fun there. We can't wait to have you on next week talking about the recap of the Saints and Niners. You brought up the Commanders, so I want to get into it at a later time. They got something cooking. That locker room speech by Ron Rivera after the Philly game where he's crying about losing his mom and Terry McLaurin steps in. They got a vibe out there in Washington, and they come out to Levi Stadium Christmas Eve. That's one of those games where it's just, you know what, bring the hard hat. It's a body bag game.
Well, I'm good friends with Chico. We actually have the exact same birthday. We played against each other. I'm good friends. But I went back and forth with him last week. And he's, you know, like, in his mind, defense is the 85 Bears. It's Buddy Ryan. It is just a wrecking. Like, it's just they're just there to ruin another team, put guys in body bags, carry them out of the stadium. That's the vision that Ron Rivera has to how to play defense. And, you know, he was so frustrated when guys have ability and don't play like that. And so now you watch this group up front. Like, they're nasty. They're just flat out nasty. You know, Payne and Allen and Sweat, and if Chase gets back, like, they're playing at a really good level right now, and they're really setting the tone.
Yeah, you talk about square quarterbacks. Tyler Heineke, not scared at all, and he's going to get the start for them. So football, man, the NFC is setting up. As you said, Baldy, football doesn't start until there's frost on the pumpkin, and I think there's plenty of it right now.
Happy
as we head
Thanksgiving.
into December.
Yeah, happy
holidays to
Thanksgiving,
you,
guys.
Baldy.
All the best.
Absolutely.
Enjoy it, man.
See you,
Absolutely.
buddy.
All right. Thanks, guys.
All right, Baldy. Brian Baldinger, the best.